The crystal chandelier in the country club ballroom felt like it was mocking me. I stood at the edge of the crowd, clutching a lukewarm water, watching my sister, Maya, command the room. She raised her vintage champagne flute, her eyes locking onto mine with a predatory glint. "A toast," she announced, her voice honey-coated venom. "To my graduation." It's such a relief to finally bring some pride back to this family, especially after. She paused, letting the silence hang until every head turned to me. After Brooke decided that finishing things just wasn't her vibe. I guess someone had to be the family failure, so I could shine brighter. The room erupted in polite, awkward titters. My father patted her hand, beaming with pride. My uncle nodded in agreement. Even my cousin Sarah looked away uncomfortably. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt a cold, hard click in my chest, like a lock snapping shut. That was the moment I decided Maya would regret every word. Before we continue, I will like to know where you're watching from in the comment section. Also hit the subscribe button and share this video, as this will help this video to travel far so others can learn also. I'm Brooke Anderson. To the people in this room, I'm the girl who couldn't hack it at a top-tier university. What they conveniently forget is that while Maya was taking selfies in front of the Eiffel Tower during her semester abroad, I was in a sterile hospital room, changing our mother's bedpans and tracking her morphine doses. Mom had stage 4 cancer. Someone had to be there. Dad was too busy with work. Maya was too focused on her future. So I dropped out in my junior year, moved back home, and became Mom's full-time caregiver. I watched her waste away, held her hand through the pain, and whispered promises that everything would be okay. When Mom died 6 months later, I didn't have a degree to show for my sacrifice. I had a mountain of medical debt and a family that treated me like a leper for falling behind. Maya never once said thank you for giving her the freedom to finish school. The morning after Mom's funeral, the real betrayal happened. Dad sat us down in his study, a room that still smelled like Mom's lavender perfume. He couldn't look me in the eye as he spoke. "Maya needs the rest of the education fund to finish her master's degree," he said quietly. "Brooke, you've already lost your momentum. It's better if you just find a trade, or maybe settle down with someone." I stared at him in disbelief. Mom wanted me to finish school. She told me to go back. Dad waved his hand dismissively. "That money is better invested in Maya's future. She actually has career prospects." Then they divided Mom's jewelry in front of me. Maya took the diamond pave set Mom had promised me since I was 12. She slipped it on her wrist without even glancing my way. I left that house with nothing but Mom's old, battered MacBook and a heart made of flint. I moved into a studio apartment that smelled like damp carpet and old grease. The walls were thin enough to hear my neighbors fighting at 2 a.m. I had $17 in my bank account and no plan beyond survival. For 2 years, I worked 12-hour shifts at a shipping warehouse by day, loading trucks and processing orders. My back ached constantly. My hands were covered in cuts and calluses. But at night, I coded. I saw the inefficiency in the warehouse logistics, the way millions of dollars leaked out of the supply chain through human error and outdated systems. I started building software to fix it. I called it Apex Flow. My desk was a plywood board balanced on 2 plastic crates. My chair was salvaged from a dumpster. My social life was the flickering green text on a black screen and the hum of my laptop fan. Success doesn't happen like in the movies. It doesn't come with dramatic music and slow-motion celebrations. It happens in the middle of the night when your eyes are bleeding from strain and you're surviving on instant noodles and black coffee. A local distributor bought a license for my software after seeing it streamline our warehouse operations. Then a regional logistics company reached out. Then a national retail chain. The software worked. It saved them money, reduced errors, and increased efficiency by 30%. By the time I was 24, I wasn't just surviving. I was scaling. I formed a blind parent company called Vanguard Group and hired a shark-tier legal firm to keep my name off all public filings. To the world. And to my family, I was still just the dropout working dead-end jobs. That anonymity was my greatest weapon. 2 years into building my empire, I went to Christmas dinner at Dad's house. I wore an old sweater to hide the fact that I was now worth more than Dad's entire estate. Maya spent the entire night talking about her trajectory at Aurelius Holdings, a massive corporate logistics firm. She was a senior associate, climbing the ladder fast. She loved reminding everyone in the room of her success. When gift exchange came, Maya handed me a professionally wrapped box with a pitying smile. Inside was a Business for Dummies book and a $20 gift card to a fast food restaurant. Since you're struggling, she whispered just loud enough for the table to hear. Maybe this will help you figure things out. I thanked her with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. I took that book home and placed it on my desk as motivation. One day, I'd make her eat every word. Maya became completely obsessed with Aurelius Holdings. It was her entire identity. Every conversation circled back to the company, the office politics, the executive leadership, her ambitious plans to climb higher. It's a legacy firm, Brooke, she told me over New Year's brunch. You wouldn't even get past the security desk with your resume. She laughed like it was the funniest joke in the world. She was gunning hard for the director of operations role. She talked about the vice president, Mr. Sterling, like he was some kind of corporate god. She studied his leadership style, memorized his speeches, and modeled her entire career path after his trajectory. What Maya didn't realize was that Mr. Sterling had been courting Vanguard Group for a buyout for 6 months. Aurelius Holdings was hemorrhaging cash, their outdated systems costing them millions. And I held the solution, and soon I'd hold the company itself. I sat in my high-rise office, the one Maya didn't know existed, reviewing the Aurelius Holdings acquisition files. My legal team had sent over boxes of financial documents, internal audits, and departmental reports. I was reading through the West Coast Logistics Division files when my heart stopped. The numbers were too perfect. Revenue projections were beautiful, soaring, and completely impossible given the operational data. I knew logistics inside and out. These numbers didn't add up. I dug deeper, cross-referenced shipping manifests with inventory reports, checked supplier invoices against recorded deliveries. And that's when I found it. My sister wasn't just a corporate climber. Maya was a fraud. She had been falsifying records to make her department look more profitable than it actually was. The evidence was buried, but it was there. And I had found it. I spent 3 days straight in my office, barely sleeping, cross-referencing every document. Maya had been ghosting inventory, marking items as lost or damaged to cover up massive overhead leaks and theft. She was making her department look 20% more profitable than reality. She was using tricks she'd probably learned from people like me, people who actually worked in warehouses. But Maya wasn't smart enough to hide the digital footprint. Every falsified report, every manipulated number, every fake loss, it was all documented in the system logs. I had enough evidence to ruin her career with one email to the board. I could destroy her with a single phone call. But I didn't. That would be too quick, too easy. I wanted something bigger. I wanted her to feel what I felt, powerless, humiliated, erased. I wanted the whole prize. I instructed my brokers and legal team to move forward with the full acquisition of Aurelius Holdings. The company was desperate enough to accept almost any terms. But I added one specific condition that made my lawyers raise their eyebrows. The current staff must remain completely unaware of the new ownership until the final vesting day gala, a company tradition where major announcements were made. I wanted Maya to feel like she was at the finish line. I wanted her strutting around, convinced her promotion was guaranteed. I wanted her to feel invincible right before I pulled the rug out from under her. My lawyer asked if I was sure about the theatrical approach. I told him I'd never been more certain of anything in my life. This wasn't just business. This was personal. At Sunday brunch 3 weeks later, Maya arrived in a brand new Porsche, fire engine red and gleaming in the afternoon sun. She'd taken out a massive loan, convinced that her promotion to director and the 6-figure bonus that came with it was absolutely guaranteed. "I'm finally at the top, Dad," she announced, tossing her keys on the table like a trophy. "The promotion announcement is in 2 weeks. I've already been told it's mine." Dad beamed at her, with such pride it made my stomach turn. Then he looked at me and sighed heavily. "Brooke, why can't you just be inspired by your sister? Even a little bit. She's worked so hard." I took a slow sip of my coffee, savoring the bitter taste. "Oh, I'm very inspired, Dad," I said softly. "More than you know." Maya didn't even look at me. I was invisible to her, just background noise in her success story. I met with Marcus Thorne, the CEO of Aurelius Holdings, at a private airfield outside the city. He arrived looking exhausted, his expensive suit unable to hide the desperation in his eyes. His company was dying, and he knew it. "We need the Vanguard infusion or we're bankrupt by Q4, he admitted, his voice cracking slightly. "Your terms are aggressive, but we'll accept them. We don't have a choice." I told him I'd save his company and inject the capital needed to turn things around. But I had one additional request. I wanted a seat at the final promotion board meeting for the director positions. I wanted to be in the room when decisions were made. He agreed instantly, too desperate to question why. He had no idea that the faceless CEO of Vanguard Group was the younger sister of his star senior associate, the same girl Maya called a dropout and a failure. Thanksgiving dinner was the final straw that cemented my resolve. The entire family gathered at Dad's house. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. Maya held court at the head of the table, talking endlessly about her upcoming promotion. Then she turned to me with a pitying smile. "Actually, Brooke, I've been meaning to tell you. I talked to HR at Aurelius. I can get you in as a junior filing clerk. You'll have to wear a uniform, obviously, and the pay is pretty basic, but it's better than whatever freelancing thing you're doing." The table went quiet. Everyone looked at me, waiting for my grateful response. I looked at Maya, really looked at her. "I think I'll pass, Maya. I actually have a very important meeting on Monday. Big things happening." Maya laughed so hard she choked on her wine. "Meeting? Brooke, please, just take the job. Stop pretending you're going somewhere." Monday morning arrived. I didn't wear the old sweater or the thrift store jeans. I put on a bespoke charcoal suit tailored to perfection. I tied my hair back, so tight it felt like armor. My heels were sharp enough to be weapons. I stood in front of the mirror in my penthouse apartment and barely recognized myself. I looked powerful, controlled, dangerous. I looked at the framed photo of Mom on my nightstand, the one where she was smiling before the cancer took everything. "Watch this, Mom," I whispered. "This is for both of us." I grabbed my leather briefcase containing all the evidence of Maya's fraud and headed to Aurelius Holdings. Today, the family failure was about to become the boss, and Maya had no idea what was coming. I walked through the revolving doors of the Aurelius Holdings building, my heels clicking against the polished marble floor. The lobby was massive, all glass and steel and corporate prestige. Maya was standing by the elevators, holding a $10 latte, looking like she owned the entire world. When she saw me, her face contorted into confusion and then irritation. "What are you doing here?" "Brooke, I told you, you can't just show up to apply for jobs. That's not how this works. Security." She actually grabbed my arm, trying to physically steer me toward the exit. I didn't move. I just looked down at her hand on my sleeve until she let go, suddenly uncertain. "I'm not here to apply for anything," I said calmly. Before Maya could respond, a man in a sharp designer suit approached us quickly. "Miss Vanguard," the man said, slightly out of breath. He was Marcus Thorne's personal executive assistant, someone I'd spoken with during the acquisition process. Maya's face twisted into a smirk. "Yes, this is my sister," Maya interrupted, her voice dripping with condescension. "She's confused. Could you please escort her to the street? She doesn't have an appointment." The assistant completely ignored her. He turned to me and bowed his head respectfully. "The board is assembled on the top floor. They're waiting for your opening statement regarding the acquisition. Shall I escort you up?" Maya's expensive latte slipped from her fingers and exploded across the white marble floor, brown liquid spreading like a stain. Her face went completely pale. "What?" she whispered. The assistant offered me his arm. I took it, walking past my sister without a single glance back. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like ascending to another world. When the doors opened, I walked down a hallway lined with portraits of previous company leaders. At the end was a massive oak door leading to the boardroom. Inside, the 20 most powerful people in the company stood up when I entered. The long mahogany table gleamed under recessed lighting. Marcus Thorne gestured to the chair at the head of the table, the power position. I took my seat. Maya was forced to stand by the door as the reporting associate for her department, required to present her division's performance. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, her skin a sickly shade of gray. Her hands were shaking so badly she dropped her tablet twice. She kept staring at me, trying to make sense of what was happening. I let the silence stretch for a long moment, watching Maya squirm. Then I opened my folder and pulled out the financial reports. "Associate Maya Anderson," I said, my voice projected with total authority. "I've been reviewing your West Coast logistics reports, specifically the lost inventory logs for the last 18 months. The room went ice cold. You could hear people breathing. Maya tried to speak, but only a small squeak came out. She cleared her throat and tried again. I can explain any discrepancies, Mr. Thorne. The numbers are. Mr. Thorne doesn't make the decisions anymore. Maya, I interrupted, leaning forward. I do. I am Vanguard Group. I own this company now, and I don't need explanations. I need the truth. I pulled out a printed spreadsheet and slid it across the table. Did you, or did you not, falsify these inventory records to inflate your department's profitability and secure performance bonuses you didn't actually earn? The board members gasped. Some leaned forward to look at the evidence. Marcus Thorne's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. Maya looked around the room desperately, like a trapped animal searching for an escape route. But there was none. These numbers show systematic fraud over 18 months. I continued. Ghost inventory, fake loss reports, manipulated shipping manifests. You made your department look profitable while it was actually bleeding money. Maya's legs seemed to give out slightly. She grabbed the wall for support. You did this, she hissed at me. You bought this whole company just to humiliate me. Maya's voice rose to a near scream. You're pathetic. You're still just a dropout trying to play grown-up. This is insane. You can't do this. Her carefully constructed corporate persona shattered completely. The polished, professional Maya disappeared, replaced by the cruel sister I'd always known. Marcus Thorne stood up, his face purple with rage. Ms. Anderson, you committed fraud. You cost this company millions. Ms. Vanguard just saved us from bankruptcy that your actions contributed to. You're lucky we don't call the police right now. Other board members started murmuring, looking at Maya with disgust and anger. Her fraud hadn't just affected her department. It had poisoned the entire company's financial reports, making the crisis worse. I held up my hand, and the room fell silent instantly. Everyone looked at me, waiting. I kept my voice calm and cold. Maya, here's what's going to happen. You will sign a voluntary resignation effective immediately. You will forfeit all bonuses, stock options, and severance packages. And I paused, letting the weight of the moment build. You will sign over the quitclaim deed to Dad's house. Maya's eyes went wide. What? You can't. I know you've been pressuring Dad to put the house in your name, so you could sell it and pocket the money. I have the emails, the texts, everything. You were planning to put him in a cheap retirement home and cash out on Mom's memory. The room was silent. Maya looked around, but everyone was staring at her with revulsion now. The house stays with me, I continued. Dad can live there as long as he wants, but you'll never get your hands on it. A lawyer slid the resignation papers and property documents across the table. Maya was shaking, so hard she could barely hold the pen. Tears streamed down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. I hate you, she whispered. Sign the papers, Maya, I said without emotion. She had no choice. The alternative was criminal fraud charges, a trial, and prison time. Her legal career would be over. Her reputation destroyed forever. At least this way, she could slink away quietly. She signed. Her hand trembled with each stroke of the pen. When she finished, I took the papers, checked each signature carefully, and tucked them into my folder. I stood up and buttoned my suit jacket. Meeting adjourned. I announced. Someone escort the former associate off the premises. She's no longer welcome here. Maya stumbled toward the door, broken and defeated. That evening, my phone rang. It was Dad. He'd heard everything. Maya had called him hysterical and furious, spinning her version of events. But other people had called too. People from the company. People who told him the truth. Brooke, I didn't know, Dad said, his voice small and ashamed. About your company. About what you built. Maya told me you were wasting your life. And I just believed her. I cut him off, my voice hard. You believed what was easy, Dad. You chose the daughter who gave you status over the one who gave Mom her dignity. You chose the daughter who flattered you over the one who sacrificed everything. There was a long silence. I'm sorry, he finally whispered. I told him he could stay in the house, but the deed would stay with me. He was a tenant now, living in my property. He started crying, but I didn't comfort him. Maya sent me a series of frantic text messages over the next week, oscillating wildly between begging for money and cursing my name. She called me every terrible thing she could think of. She threatened to tell everyone I'd orchestrated some conspiracy against her. I didn't reply to a single message. After the first day, I blocked her number entirely. I didn't need to yell at her. I didn't need to gloat or rub her face in what happened. Her own arrogance had built the trap. Her own fraud had sprung it. I just happened to be there to close the door and turn the key. Some people asked if I felt guilty. I didn't. Maya had spent years making me feel worthless. She'd laughed at my pain, mocked my sacrifices, and stolen what Mom had promised me. She'd built her success on lies while I built mine on truth. The universe just finally balanced the scales. I stood in my office, looking out at the city skyline. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and orange. Aurelius Holdings was recovering under my leadership. The fraud was being corrected. The systems I built were saving money and creating efficiency. I wasn't the family failure anymore. I never really was. I was the architect of my own life, the author of my own success. I took the Business for Dummies book Maya had given me and placed it on the top shelf of my mahogany bookcase, a permanent reminder that the people who doubt you are usually just afraid you'll surpass them. I picked up my phone and called my real friends, the people who believed in me when I had nothing. It was time to celebrate, not Maya's downfall, but my rise. Time to actually start living the life I'd built. And as I looked at Mom's photo on my desk, I smiled. "We did it, Mom," I whispered. "We did it."